We have with us our first guest presenter from Legrand, Canada, Andrew LaFortune. Andrew is the Eastern Regional Manager for Legrand, Canada. He was born and raised and currently resides in Montreal. Started with the Wire Mold Company back in 1997. Wire Mold was then purchased by Legrand in 2001. And after that merger, after that finalization of that merger, he officially started with Legrand in 2004. For everyone on the webinar today, this is a webinar, so because of the attendance from different realms and facets of the industry, we do keep it as a webinar. So any questions you have, please post them in the Q&A. Also, you can use the chat bar at any time, and one of our panelists will jump on and try to interact and answer any questions. So myself, Mark McDonald, as well as my partner Eli Asuf are on as panelists today, and I think Taylor may be on there as well. So our story, for anyone who doesn't know Catalyst Sales and Marketing, we are a manufacturer's rep agency and we connect global manufacturers to the local market. We have a real focus on sustainability and the trends and products that drive that in the realm of electrification. So that's who we are and why we exist, and we want to continue bringing those products to our local market here. And without further ado, I will let Andrew go ahead and take over.
Great, thank you, Mark, and welcome everyone. Glad to be here. I just want to say thanks to Catalyst Sales for putting this on. I think it's a great way to reach out to everybody and give some opportunities and see what we're doing. We couldn't at Legrand. We couldn't be more proud and happy and lucky to have Catalyst Sales as our representative for Eastern Canada. So with that, I'll continue. So we're right at the agenda right now. So we're, like I said, we're just going to talk a bit about what's out there. We're in this pandemic. Everyone's business is off a little bit, and just want to give some ideas and some opportunities that we're seeing out there, and that we could work and help and give our part. So we're just going to go with the support of essential services. Like I said, temporary power, flash track jobs. We'll touch a bit about that. We know about fast track. Now we're into flash track. Safe and reliable access to power. And Mark and the group will talk a bit about the counter shields and the Q&A. So, unfortunate circumstances, this pandemic has made us change all of our businesses around, and to support the essential services that are out there, we've had to, all of our businesses, we have all had to adapt and to help combat this. And these are just, we broke it down into 4 types of products that we're seeing and solutions that we're seeing, to help out this pandemic. So we'll move on. So what we're going to touch base on in the temporary power, we're going to look at some cable protectors, trays, cable reels, PDUs. In the middle column in the fast, efficient setups, flash track jobs, power poles, pre-wired raceway, plug tail and distribution, power distribution. And in safe, reliable, with that, we're going to look at watertight and different types of connectors and that we can offer. So with all the temporary power setups, we're hearing stories of cables being run all over the place and trying to get to these temporary power stations. So we're hearing stories like covering up with plywood in different situations, but there are products that exist, such as these cable protectors that can be installed, removed, changed, relocated, and then used again somewhere else. And there's different options in there, either a 5-channel or a 3-channel, and some of them can support up to 50,000 pound loads. Also, whoever's manufacturing wire tray is essential for power. So if we're looking overhead, tray is configurable. Wire mesh is configurable on site. There's no need to wait for specialized elbows or different fittings, and it can be configured the way you need it. Also can be removed and replaced and placed somewhere else. So very essential if we're going overhead with cable. Also, another good also an idea was the cable reels. These are offered in 25 or 50-foot leads, 12 gauge pretty much with 3 conductors, and we can offer people offer different flying leads or GFCI configuration on the end, or even 20 amp or 15 amp configuration quad receptacles. So a lot of these are being installed in various temporary setups for power coming from the ceiling. Also, we're hearing stories of power distribution. So wherever there's temporary setups, we see different types of power setups for panels being set up on pieces of plywood or on workbenches and all that. But there exists some these power distribution units that are offered in 30, 50, 60 amp configurations with a multitude of different outlets on them, from straight blade to turn lock, and different 15, 20 amp, even 30 amp configurations in there. Also, power poles for temporary installation can be relocated, removed, used somewhere else. There are power poles offered pre-wired with hospital grade receptacles, switches attached to them. Some of them are used with cable Raceway, so 10-foot poles with two sides Raceway, so they can have normal and emergency power on not in the same channel. So a lot of different configurations are offered, and also can be configured on job sites. So standard wall plates are used in these, standard switches, Decora, or what have you. And here's just an example of something that was worked on, essentially 2 Raceways put together with temporary power, pre-wired with a foot, so it could be moved, it could be spiked into the ground wherever needed, and relocated to another thing. So essentially, this is just a 2 Raceways put together back to back. This was actually shipped out to New York, and where into the temporary power areas where they had temporary beds set up for the COVID patients. So this is just things we're working on, and also, you could also build this on site as well. Here are just some ideas of what you can do, different configurations. Another thing too is where we have temporary moving of patients. We've had some hotels that have been converted into patient rooms. So there's with Raceway, again, we can offer bed boards, backboards with power pre-wired. Also, they can be configured on site. So by taking a 10-foot Raceway, cutting it in half, two sections of 5 feet placed on the bedboard. So this could be very easily set up quickly and efficiently. And again, with all the testing going on and all that, Raceway is essential in these new labs that they're building. And when we talk about flash track jobs, we're talking about, fast track is probably a month, delivering a job in a month, but flash track, we're hearing about days and weeks delivering jobs. So people are doing wings of hospitals within a week, something that was delayed for a while. They're now having to convert those wings now, and Raceway is temporary. It's a good way to put up temporary power. And also, especially, for instance, like here in laboratories and where the testing is needed, aluminum Raceway is easily cleanable, can be installed quickly, is a non-ferrous product as well, and you can have different configurations of plugs and switches and data all along the Raceway. Again, we'll move into receptacles. We have a whole line of receptacles out there, chemical resistant receptacles, hospital grade, pretty much in these, we're talking about temporary power. The more rugged receptacle, being the hospital grade, is the one that's going to be used. Residential receptacle is a little bit, as you know, not as strong as a or resistant as a heavier duty one. So different configurations. We have USB, you have surge, you have tamper, all types of receptacles out there, and illuminated as well. As we move into power distribution, along with receptacles that are hardwired, we also there's power distribution units that are power bars that exist in the market that are with hospital grade receptacles already mounted in it. So quick, reliable installations needed for specifically for the temporary setups of beds and equipment, life support systems. Excuse me. Along with that, we have also there is watertight plugs and connectors. With all the temporary power going on and all that, safety is an issue. So there's a whole host of products out there for cable ends and plugs and connectors that can be that are NEMA and IP suitable for all your installations. So something to look at when doing the temporary power. Along with that, you can also have, for safety, more safety issues, there's also plugs and connectors that exist with ground monitoring continuation. So, for instance, if there's an identification LED, if it's green, that means it's safe. The power is safe. You can plug into it. If it's red, there's a problem, and if it's off, well, there's no power heading to it. So there's all kinds of different configurations out there, and safety, although it is temporary power, safety is needed out there as well. You don't want any more accidents to happen. So along with that, there's a whole host of products for higher amperage, such as pin and sleeve, IEC 309 pin and sleeve cam type devices, turn lock straight blades, all for temporary power, cord ends, different. So a whole host of products out there. Again, with protection, GFCI is important, protection. So the portable GFCIs, which can be easily moved to different areas, protection is still essential. And again, also antimicrobial products. So plugs and connectors, if more protection is needed, antimicrobial cord ends and cords can be used, with some of them, resisting to bacteria such as E. coli or Listeria or Salmonella. These are typically used in the food and beverage industry. However, more needed, you're seeing a lot more in the healthcare side of things. These things are needed because although they have not been tested for the COVID-19, however, they will eliminate other bacteria from depositing on the surface of these plug and cables. So along with that, like I was talking a bit before, with plugs and receptacles and all that, a heavier duty receptacle is pretty much needed, especially in these times, with a lot of the cleansing and the cleaning of the areas. So chemical resistant toggle switches or plugs are needed, and a higher grade, especially the hospital grade devices, do have material that can be that will reduce the chemical products that are being used to clean down these facilities. Again, for more security, cord grips, a lot of manufacturers offer these. These are essential if you want to keep the cord and the plug attached properly, give a little more strength. These things are being thrown around quite a bit, moving from place to place, So you want to have a definite a strength. So this just adds strength to the connection. And along with that, I mean, there's a whole host of receptacles out there. You know, like I was talking a bit before, hospital grade is probably the strongest product out there along the lines. But hospital grade are also offered in with USB charging, with turn lock, 15, 20 amp, illuminated. There's a whole host of products out there, and are needed for different facilities. And I'll let Mark continue.
Yeah, I'll jump in here, and we wanted to add this slide because we've all seen, you know, a change in the way we do business currently as consumers. So anyone who's been going to the grocery store, if they're the designated person within their households, or anyone who has still been going to any retail store to pick up supplies or products or what have you during our new climate that we're in right now, we've seen these counter shields. They're becoming more and more prevalent. But the reason we wanted to touch on them is because we in the electrical industry, most of us have access to or currently sell enclosures, and enclosure manufacturers already have the equipment and the means to produce these counter shields. If they've got CNC machines, they've got laser cutters, they've got you know, plexiglass that are being used in some of these enclosures, even panel shops. You know, we've seen a lot of different people step up in marketplaces and offer products like this. So specifically, if you do have enclosure manufacturers, I would reach out to them, because outside the business, you know, the B2C, the business to consumer side, that retail space, we're going to see our B2B side. So as electrical distribution, you know, hopefully we get some promising timeframes in the near future. But as electrical distribution goes to reopen, you know, your counters, and as your customers on the B2B side go to reopen their spaces where they interact with their customers, there's going to be an increased demand for this. You know, we're not going back overnight to the way things were. I think we're all pretty accepting of that fact now. So just be aware that reach out to your enclosure manufacturers. We've seen several of them step up to the plate and produce products like this. You'll see L-shaped versions, you'll see U-shaped versions, you'll see flat shapes on stanchions, and then you'll get customizable stuff. So you can customize the heights, the widths, and you can also customize the cutouts. Also, I've seen manufacturers now offer screen printing or different logos, barcodes, a whole list of things you can add to these counter shields. So another great product, and this is less on the emergency side, which Andrew was focusing on, and this is a product that's going to be on the day-to-day side. I saw an article the other day, the province of New Brunswick just bought 10,000 of these. So a great opportunity for us to go within our current businesses or to our current customers' businesses, or even open up an entirely new market for the frontline counter shields. So some frequently asked questions. Andrew, the first one will go to you. Is stainless steel basket tray antimicrobial? I know in my day-to-day dealings, I've had this question before, as people have specified stainless steel for caustic or hospital environments. So is stainless steel inherently antimicrobial?
The answer is no, it is not antimicrobial. However, it's used in washdown areas. So where there's frequent washdown, it will any corrosive, it will eliminate any corrosive. However, it's not an antimicrobial.
Okay, and another one. What are the standard heights on pack poles? You know, you talked about the flash track jobs, right, and some of the temporary power. So as we see the requests and demands, even as hospitals go to increase capacity within their current facilities and require more power from the drop ceilings. So what are the standard heights on pack poles if someone wanted one quick shipped and they needed it right away?
Well, yeah. So for quick, it's a 10-foot pole. So essentially, the steel poles are two sections of raceway, 10-foot raceways that they put back to back, and they're shipping them out quickly. But you know, standard pack poles are about 10-foot 5, 12-foot 5, 15-foot 5, but most manufacturers are concentrating on the 10-foot, the easy solutions, not worrying about the ceiling heights right now. A lot of contractors also, I'll just add, are building their own pack poles, taking two ends of Raceway, putting them together, or one, configuring some type of for their needs. So we're seeing all kinds of situations. People just want to get the product there. They just want to get some kind of solution up there.
Andrew, this one came up in the last session, but just to follow up to that, so on the pack poles or even the raceways that you're referring to, that they're configuring custom options on these flash track jobs, what finishes, I know you had a slide showing aluminum, is that the most common finish on pack poles or raceways you're seeing in the hospital environment?
Yeah, we're seeing steel. Steel is still probably the most demanded. However, aluminum, especially, it's an easier wash down with aluminum, and it's non-ferrous. So sometimes in the laboratories, if they have equipment that they're using, the aluminum is still quite used, especially for the testing areas and all that, where the aluminum is used. Also, just to add. With the aluminum, it's an anodized finish on the aluminum for manufacturers. There are companies, especially Canadian companies, working on having anodized finish that will be COVID-19 resistant. So bacterial resistance, similar to the antimicrobial, but it will be built into the anodized treatment that they do on aluminum.
Excellent. And what is budget pricing on the counter shield? So I'll field this one. Depending on how custom you go, there are some standard, / custom configurations on these counter shields. I mentioned the L shapes, the U shapes, the flat with stanchion supporting. So depending 24, 36 wide and whatever height is required, it varies. And the range we're seeing right now from some of our manufacturing partners who have stepped up to produce these counter shields, you're seeing ranges from the 250 all the way up to 500, depending on how much customization or what size. And you'll see this, change over. There's been a shift in kind of these homemade, if you will, counter shields at some of the retail outlets, some 2x4s and a sheet $100 plexiglass cut and screwed. So these are professionally configured, and you are going to pay a little bit more for those. Also shipping, so these have to come from manufacturers typically not in the region, but there's still some great options available locally as well. So manufacturers, we definitely like to thank, of course, Andrew from Legrand for taking his time today and offering to do this presentation, agnostic of Legrand's products, even though we were showing many on the slides. Of course, we just wanted everyone to be aware of the opportunities for their manufacturers that relate, and everyone has some version of this product. And if we look in our entire product portfolio as distributors, we know we can offer solutions for all of these projects. And then EXM, we'd like to thank you as well. They shared that counter shield information. They were one of the early manufacturers to step up and produce these counter shields, although some other manufacturers are also offering them now. So definitely want to thank Andrew Legrand and EXM for everything in putting this webinar together. So get in touch with us, please. We're available on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Also on our website, www.catalystsales.ca. And you can go on the webinar section of our website. You will gain access to all of our previously recorded webinars in our webinar series, as well as the PDF downloads. We're opening up this information to anyone who wants it or wants to share it with customers. And also, I want to thank everyone for joining us on this webinar, but also invite you to join us on future webinars. So we have changed the time, so a housekeeping note there. We moved the sessions to the morning. We've got plenty of feedback where people were more available in the morning slot. So we've moved our morning slot to 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. was our original time. So 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. now, as opposed to our previous webinar schedule, which was 11 and 1. So upcoming webinars this Thursday at 10 and 11 a.m. we have Datacom, Future of the Commercial Market, and that will be actually presented in partnership with Cisco Networks, who have been offering a lot of solutions during this new COVID climate. Next week we have Solar 101, solar installation. So we did a solar general overview in one of our earlier webinar series and had a lot of feedback on from people requesting a deeper dive into solar. So we're going to get into the technical nuances, the product differences, and the actual installation technicalities and requirements. So that will be a very informative info pack, 30 minutes. And then on Thursday, an important topic that's becoming more prevalent for us as an agency is lighting trends. Why decorative lighting matters to you. As we see more and more lighting showrooms close in our local regional market and some of that business move online, we've also seen that business move back to the electrical wholesale channel. The majority of our business now on our decorative lighting is supplied through the electrical wholesale channel. So it's a great opportunity to bring back a revenue stream that maybe left our marketplace for a while and has been brought back. So we're definitely going to add some value there in educating everyone on current trends in the decorative lighting space. Some additional Q&As. As I mentioned, there is a Q&A section and a chat section. If anyone has any questions as we finish up here, feel free to post them. You do have to post to the Q&A, unfortunately, because this, or through the chat, because this is a webinar. And I think I had a couple notes on questions here. Oh yeah, that was one question I wanted to ask that. I didn't in the FAQ. It came up in the last seminar. So Andrew, do you foresee the need for temporary power? I know in the Atlantic Canadian marketplace, it's kind of been a hurry up and wait game. Lucky for us, it has been that, but we haven't really seen our infrastructure overwhelmed. Outside of the New York and some of the US markets, have we seen any of these flash track projects popping up in the Canadian market?
In certain sections, I'll speak on maybe Quebec, for instance, where we've seen a little bit of a rise in the cases over the last few weeks, and especially in the long care facilities. As you all know, there's been some incidents in that. So the government has now sent in the military to aid in helping to clean and make sure everything gets as back to normal as possible. So there's been some temporary setups in the arenas, hockey arenas, and different halls and gymnasiums to get the patients out, clean the facility, and then move them back in as quickly as possible. So there's been some areas where there's been needed some temporary. So hopefully it's all only isolated cases and it doesn't grow. But yeah, there's been some small cases like that.
Awesome, and you actually answered my question earlier, because this is our second run through this presentation, and I went through the slides earlier, and I still wasn't familiar with the term flash track. So we of all, I would assume, have heard of fast track, but flash track now makes a lot more sense. So it's the next increment up in getting these projects rolled out. And one that came to mind, I know there was a viral video when Wuhan was first going through their outbreak, when they built, I think, 1,000 beds in something like 10 days with poured concrete and infrastructure. So that's what we're talking about, I guess, when we refer to flash track. And you mentioned, I think, in the US, when they're turning arenas and parking lots into temporary medical facilities, when these things have to be built in under a week. So that's our flash track projects, correct, Andrew?
Exactly. We're talking fast track would probably be maybe months. Then flash track, we're talking about days.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Andrew. We really appreciate you taking your time and sharing all that information with us. And we are at the 11:30 mark. So thanks again for everyone who could join us, and we can't wait to see you on future webinars.
Thank you.